Excellent. Welcome to Radical Growth. I'm Dave Reynolds, CEO of the Ruminate Group, and I'm thrilled to have you here. This podcast is about real stories from founders, business owners, and CEOs across Canada who've navigated the highs and lows of building something remarkable. At the Ruminate Group, we believe that growth isn't by chance, it's radical, intentional, and by design. Whether you're scaling your team, refining your strategy, or searching for your next breakthrough, this show's for you. Each episode, we dive into the pivotal moments that shape our guest's journey, the wins, the setbacks, the lessons they've learned along the way. Our simple goal is to bring you actionable insights and real stories that empower you to grow with purpose and resilience. So grab a coffee and whatever fuels your ambition, and let's dive into Radical Growth Journey. Really excited today because we have Marcel from Good Comfort Home Care. So Marcel, if you're able to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Good Comfort Home Care, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely, Dave. Thanks so much. And thanks so much for having me today. My name is Marcel Zierfuss, CEO and founder of Good Comfort Home Care. We are a one-stop care company. So everything from PSW support, transportation, care products, and wellness that ultimately is transforming home care for the better. We are a mission-driven and purpose-driven organization based on a personal experience with home care that's really looking at the care delivery model, but also the entire system and creating system-wide change within an industry that has somewhat been overlooked. So that's Good Comfort in a nutshell.
Amazing. And tell the audience a little bit about when you started and kind of maybe a
Sure.
little bit about how you've grown since you've kicked off.
Yeah, so really, the seeds were planted for Good Comfort in the early 2023. The official launch for Good Comfort was May 15th, 2023. I started with a handful of people and really a very clear mission of again transforming home care, creating better home care and a better delivery system, and also a better model for the actual employees, or who we call care partners themselves. Since then, we've grown exponentially. We have a team of well over 100 now that's operating across Southern Ontario. We've expanded into the Georgian Triangle, so Collingwood and Barrie and Orillia and Creemore, etc. But we've also expanded not only from a team and locale perspective, but we've grown and matured as an organization as well in terms of our core team and our offerings from, again, just a core offering of home care to a one-stop care company.
So I was really excited. I know when we initially connected and we were kind of going through kind of that whole career path and getting into, Good Comfort Home Care.
Yeah.
The first question I had for you, Marcel, was more like your career path and business growth has been obviously tremendous since 2023, and you have over 100 people now.
Yeah.
What was the turning point that helped you define your vision and kind of steer your organization towards growth?
Yeah, so there wasn't exactly a sort of a key turning point, but I think it was a series of events that really led to this. And as I said, Good Comfort was based on a personal journey and experience with home care with my father-in-law, who was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. And that goes back about 7 years. So, along the way, I was very much plotting, what was wrong with the care experience, the delivery experience, as well as just looking at overall what was going on within the industry. And so, the catalyst, though, really was when we, in fact, signed a contract with Toronto Grace Hospital, and they've been phenomenal partners. And Toronto Grace Hospital has an incredible program called Remote Care Monitoring. We came on as a preferred partner, and from there, we grew exponentially. So it really was building up to that point, going to market with, again, a very clear offering, focusing in on the problems and coming to the table with innovative solutions and better solutions, and really building a strong client rapport with our initial clients that and enabled us to get that contract from there, then that actually opened the doors to obviously a lot more clientele. Enabled us to expand geographically as well as with our team. And it also forced us to really mature quite
Mm.
quickly as well.
That's incredible. And have you always had like an entrepreneurial mindset? Have you always kind of operated businesses?
Yeah, so I haven't necessarily operated my own businesses, but certainly I have always had an entrepreneurial mindset. So, my previous 20-25 years was spent as a brand strategist, a business strategist, an innovation strategist. So working with top tier companies, blue chip companies, I always was the one who was sort of sought out for solving problems, identifying new kind of new opportunities and developing go to market strategies for that. So with that mindset, which is natural, I think I was born into the world with curiosity, with the ability to see things a little bit differently, and most importantly, not only see but actually do things differently. That enabled me to really kind of hone in with that skill set, with that experience, and be able to apply that to a net new industry.
That's incredible. I know when I was doing some initial research on your organization and yourself, I was like, somebody on the team has got to have an eye for marketing and messaging
Yes.
and just
Yeah.
value statements. Again, to audience members, if you haven't gone to the website for Good Comfort Home Care, go check it out. LinkedIn, all the socials, absolutely stunning and incredible. You guys did an incredible job building that.
Thank you. You know what I mean? That's part of it as well, right? Is in terms of the brand language or the essence of the brand. What you have in an industry is it's very cookie cutter. It's very somewhat expected. And so from our perspective, even how we view care can be as little as giving someone a trip to an appointment. It doesn't need to necessarily be when there's a major event or what everyone imagines care to be. And so we view care as, all the little things that we're able to do for people in their daily lives to help them live life a little bit better, or to live life well, as we say. And so we have an optimistic brand, we have a colorful brand, we have a fun brand, and we really want to celebrate the goodness in life and the goodness we're putting out into the world.
That's incredible. And I love that you're able to take those skills that you took from an organization and apply them into an entrepreneurial environment.
Yes.
What was that moment for you when you knew this was more than just getting into home care, that you're growing something as special as it is today?
Yeah, I think it was quite early on, in fact, and we do an event series, and we actually have a platform as well, a digital platform, which you can access via our website called Learn. But really, the theme that we're honing in on is navigating the care journey, and so I had an opportunity to launch an initial expert panel event with some excellent professionals. And in that moment, in just seeing the need and seeing the way that the audience was engaging us, I just was struck by the fact that, what, this is much more than just a care company, just a new company. This is a broader mission. And this is a broader
Mhm.
mission to help families navigate care, get the care they need, and when we're with families, to be supportive throughout the actual journey. The industry has very much been transactional in nature, similar to an employment agency. You need care, you call,
Yep.
someone comes in. And we know all the experience. And yes, there's some excellent companies out there, and there's some excellent care providers out there. But at the same time, I think one of the missing elements of care is the human aspect and the relationship aspect. And so that's what we've inserted back into it. But certainly that event, the reaction of the audience, the conversation, I knew we were on the right path, and I knew that this was a mission and also a personal mission that I just connected with in that moment.
That's amazing. And I'm sure just with your experience and depth on the marketing and branding side,
Mhm.
that whole CX and customer experience side is probably something predominantly see in home care, but We've actually, as an organization, been fortunate enough to work in home care a little bit throughout, more on the e-platform side. But it's interesting when you see, the business, you have the home care workers, you have the patients, but you also have the families, and then there's more geographically dispersed families, and they're always wanting to understand how was that care visit?
Yes.
Yeah, how did they do? And so having an organization that you trust and you know that cares at the level you guys do, it
Yeah.
just changes that level of confidence I'm sure that the families do with the service you provide. And that's got to mean a lot.
Absolutely. I call that I call that client and always focus. Sorry, Dave. Just we got cut off there. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah. Yeah, so in terms of the CX or client experience or care experience, that has been absolutely a focus since day one. Um, and we're continuing to invest, continuing to innovate behind the scenes in terms of our care delivery model, in terms of how we are enabling data to mitigate risk and to empower our care people. But also, ultimately, at the end of the day, people are living very busy lives, and a key a key aspect ultimately of what we're delivering is peace of mind. And so
Hmm.
we look at the data, we look at the reporting, and we look at the client communications as a key channel for creating peace of mind. It also builds trust and transparency around what's going on day to day, et cetera. And I feel like that is a absolutely a huge space for competitive differentiation. And as we look to 2025, we are upping our investment, particularly around AI enablement for risk mitigation, communications, as well as automating many of the key aspects of our client journey as well.
That's amazing. I know just as our organization, we always think of like people as a strategy. And I'm sure as you've gone from being that entrepreneur to having a team of over 100, what leadership qualities do you look for when you're bringing somebody into an organization as special as yours? Like, what's important to you in around culture, leadership qualities, communication? Like, what are some of the critical things for you as a leader?
Yeah, I think the key thing is that they need to be caring individuals, and that's just something that cannot be faked. And it's something that, and when we look at care, right, it's care for the clients, care for the day to day, care for the bottom line, caring to look for new opportunities and better ways to operate. So I really look for people who are passionate about our mission and what we're trying to do. First and foremost, they need to be aligned with that, and that needs to be innate. Secondly, I'm looking for, strategic thinkers and people who are nimble in their thinking, and are quick on their toes in terms of not necessarily meeting set processes, but looking to, evolve, and they understand how to work more in an agile environment and company. And last but not least, people who are proactive in the sense that they're proactively looking to always improve themselves, looking to outside of even the job, looking to care for themselves and invest um, invest in their own lives so that they're living well as well. So really kind of looking for balanced people, but people ultimately that are centered around care, that are centered around our mission, and that have the sort of that strong ability to lead without ego.
Yeah, I know, and I love that around the care side. I know when we talk about communication, we always talk about balancing care and candor, but I was even thinking how difficult sometimes that home care worker job can be because I'm sure there's
Mhm.
a lot of travel. And I think a lot of times you're caring so much for other people that sometimes you obviously need to take time to kind of replenish and rebuild. How do you
Yes.
find to make sure that, home care workers are keeping balance as well, so they're still
Yeah,
maintaining that energy level?
Absolutely. So in looking at sort of the model when I launched Good Comfort, that was a key aspect, and what I actually witnessed during the personal experience that I previously mentioned with my father-in-law was that many of the care workers, caregivers that are, doing an exceptional job, and as I say, they're doing God's work. It's incredible the day-to-day work that these individuals do, and the conditions, and it's tough, tough work with very little support. Many of them, what that I witnessed were not getting paid well, making minimum wage. They were people, whose careers weren't necessarily invested in from a company perspective. So in terms of training and development, um, and they weren't necessarily all that engaged with the company as well. Again, more of a staffing model versus an actual company, and
Mm,
certainly a mission and purpose-driven company. So again, coming back to this notion of care, as we say, our guiding principle is that we care. I said, listen, first and foremost, we're going to attract and retain good people. Certainly, we give them a living wage, and so we pay. I would bet, I don't have the facts and I don't have the information in front of me, but certainly we probably pay one of the highest in the industry. We also encourage training and development. So we look at offsetting and offsetting the cost of ongoing training and development. But we also provide training and development. And this year certainly, is a huge uh, increase our efforts around reward and recognition. One of the things we do is, as an executive team, is we go out and we visit our people as well, and we engage them
mm.
on a regular basis. I believe all of our people know that our door is always open, and that they can trust us, and that we have their backs as well. Um, so it's really, we've stepped up to the plate to say, you know what, we care, and if we care for our people, they're going to be caring much more and much more about the job that they do. We also don't force any situation or job upon anyone. We want to make sure that they want to work with a client, that the location is fine for them, that the distances aren't too far to travel to clients. We offset with transportation reimbursements and benefits, etc. Ultimately, where I'm going with this, though, is that I will actually want to create an employee share program where people actually are part owners or have a small ownership within the actual company itself, so that as we grow, they're able to grow as well in their own personal and professional lives.
That's incredible. And I would say the learning and development side is a thing that our organization is just, obsessed over because we do a lot of customized learning and development programs, but we're always curious to see where everybody else is focused from like a topic perspective. Is there a particular topic you're focusing on this year from like a learning and development perspective for your teams?
100%. So, as we say, we hire for much more than certifications. Anyone can have certifications, right? You can have your PSW certification, first aid, etc. All it requires is, commitment to a course. But the difference between good and great care is emotional intelligence. And so we are looking at developing and focusing in on how do we build emotional intelligence? How do we build resilience in our people? How do we get
Mm,
them to know themselves better so that they can actually care better and lead with themselves better? And I think that that's one of the missing equations, and certainly what I look for in our people. So, sorry, one of the aspects around management and hires is emotion, but people and our care partner is something that we really, really look at, the soft skills. How do they manage themselves? How do they manage client relationships? How do they deal with conflict? Right. And how can they do that in a way that shows that they care ultimately?
yeah, it's amazing. I definitely know teaching and going through that whole EQ side, like even just
Yeah.
managing the emotions, or even just being aware of those emotions, I think is such a
Yep.
big part, especially where things can go so fast. I mean, I think just before the show started, we talked about, geez, we're already 2 weeks into the year, right? It's easy to not notice certain things sometimes,
Yes.
and then not manage them. So I'm glad that you're really focused in that area. It's
Yeah,
huge.
And we're dealing with raw emotions too. Care is not easy. Families are stressed. You're dealing with a lot of anxiety. And we are also in people's homes, and so it becomes even more intimate. Our people have to deal with, and we personally have to deal with clients that we the client loss. We have to deal with death.
Yep.
And so how do we take good care of our people in these situations, and also do it in a way that makes them a little bit more aware of themselves and enables them to personally grow.
That's great. Yeah. And it's definitely hard because I know even if I thought the old Stephen Covey 7 habits, like the emotional bank account, well, it goes a long way, I'm sure, in healthcare where you're always making those investments every time you stop by and take care of
A-
somebody. So
a-
it's got to be hard.
Absolutely, and that's definitely one thing that is critical, is that self-care is just as important as the care that you're giving out there. And so we encourage self-care, and it's just critical that people really take care of themselves, that they take pause, and that they also have a venue for conversation and dialogue with someone like myself or someone else on our executive team.
That's great. Well, I always look back to the captain, the CEO, and I know you're thinking about all the employees and finding balance. How does Marcel, manage balance, professionally, personally? Like, kind of how do you keep gas in the tank throughout the process?
It's a very good question. I think, at the end of 2024, there wasn't much gas left in the tank. We had an exceptional year of growth, as I mentioned, and then growing to well over 100 in partnerships. And, the growth was off the charts and certainly wasn't planned for. But anyhow, knock on wood that it continues to grow. I think what's critical is myself practicing mindfulness on a day-to-day basis, taking pause and reflecting. Also, health. Um, but ultimately, I get a lot of self-care when I go out to visit clients as well. And it might sound a bit strange, but in those moments, I actually can reflect upon my life and the gift that I've been given in terms of my position. And it just gives me so much joy to be able to connect with clients. And usually on most Fridays, if I have the time, I'm out and I'll take pause in that afternoon and I'll go visit a client, or I'll go do something with a client. Maybe I might take them on a trip, or, a little excursion, whatever that may be. But that gives me real peace, and it grounds me in the day to day of what we're doing.
That's amazing. It just definitely reinforces, who you do it for.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, being constantly connected with your customers, and I think that's
yeah.
a true testament of a strong CEO.
Hmm.
So, typically we would ask this question for a company that's been around for 10 or 20 years of like, what is the next 3 to 5 years? But, you're brand new into the growth, but you're growing at such a high trajectory. Like,
Hmm.
and without even putting a timeline on it, what does the future growth strategy look like for good care, home comfort, or home care? Like, really making sure, like, what are some of those things that like you care most about from a growth perspective? Is it
For sure.
acquisition? Is it organic? Like, I
Yeah.
would love to get inside your head on that.
Yeah, for sure. So first and foremost is the client experience, right? So how are we putting out into this world the good comfort way of care? So ensuring that, when people get us and deal with us, that they know that they're dealing with good comfort and there's true differentiation between us and anyone else that's out there. So enabling the processes, enabling the training with our people, enabling the tools, the communications, the technology to enable that. The second thing is brand love, and really creating a brand that people love. We've got a great story, but we've got a great brand identity. So how do we create more brand love around us? How do we put out content that's value add to bring people into an events and any value add engagement to pull people in and to really engage with us. But really, from a service offering perspective, there's a few exciting things as well on the offerings, which involve disrupting things like day programs and also care clinics. So evolving the sort of the mix of and our core pillars of offerings as well. We'll mature those offerings. We will make sure they're running perfectly, and that they're profitable, and that they're all delivering value at the end of the day. But at the same time, there's a couple other pillars that we're looking at in the next few years in terms of lighting those up and offering them, because we know that there's a real need around those, and where we can certainly differentiate and create something better.
Amazing. That's awesome. And again, love the direction you guys are headed. And I know me personally, I've had a couple of different businesses, but I've also worked in companies before. I know it's a big mindset change working for a company versus running a company. And there's so many positive things on the growth trajectory, but what's the most challenging thing that you face as a CEO today? Running an organization, 100 plus people, growth trajectory, like a lot of things that are there.
Yeah, I think the toughest thing is balancing between the sort of the day to day and the stuff that I need to do versus the high level. So, the micro kind of activities of the day to day, the operations side of the business,
Mhm.
and balancing that and not getting too sucked into it, where I'm kind of, I'm not able to kind of operate at that high level and focused on growth opportunities, focused on brand opportunities, focused on client experience opportunities, and really delivering on strategically on our roadmap. So it's a tough balancing act with the growth right now, and obviously, we're trying to figure out from an operations and people perspective, how we fill those gaps, and frankly, how do I offset some of that as well, right, and put that over to
Yeah.
other people so that they can take that on to free me up to focus in on, let's say, the higher value add activities, or jobs that need to be done.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sure as you're scaling and growing, you're probably adding more leaders in your organization. It's like the old saying of like, you got to give up to go up.
Yes,
And so
very
like
much
giving
so.
up some of those activities where you can delegate, but also empower throughout the process. And I found that I'll always come back to the Pareto principle. It's like 20% of what we do gives us 80% of our results, but
Yes,
sometimes we get caught doing the 80% that gives us 20% because
correct,
we're trying to be
correct.
tactical and going after those pieces. But
Yeah,
yeah, you seem like you're at a very exciting time in your business, which is incredible.
yeah, it's an incredibly exciting time for our business, and I mean, what I've been seeing, as of late, is this natural organic growth that's coming from word of mouth referrals. So, as any entrepreneur would say, we're always looking for that product market fit. But I think any entrepreneur as well would probably say there was a particular time where they started to feel the momentum. I'm starting to feel the momentum. I'm starting to see the
Good.
momentum. And I'm loving that, we are continuing to do what we've done from day one, without having to convince people to come to us to have the conversation and to get the care that they need from us.
Amazing. So how does Marcel stay motivated? Like what's a driving factor for your motivation?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Dave, you just cut off
No?
there.
No worries. No, I was just saying, always curious whenever I connect with
Oh,
leaders, what their
there
motivation
we go.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. No, so I'll start over. So I'm always curious whenever we connect with leaders,
Okay.
what their motivation is, as in like sometimes it's money, it's competition, it's recognition, it's personal development, or it's purpose, vision. What kind of like lights you up? What's your biggest motivation?
Yeah, I think my biggest motivation is, it can equate to better. And what I mean by that is I was an athlete in a previous life, and I knew that there with every day, right, with every training session, And I not only was an athlete, but I was a cyclist. So very difficult, very hard training, very intensive. So every training, every day you went out on the bike, you knew that you focused on a couple things, you would just be that much better, that much better, that much better. So what really motivates me is solving this problem and delivering solutions in this big problem of providing exceptional care. The return of that and seeing the care that we provide motivates me, and it kind of reinforces. But innately, in terms of who I am as a leader and a person, it's really about how do I wake up today to create something better, better for my employees, better for our clients, better bottom line, better, smoother operations, more efficient, et cetera. So
I
yeah,
love the
yeah,
better concept. I think it's great. Anytime we do workshops, and I swear the clients we've had for years have heard this a million times. We have a saying that it says, good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is better and your better is best.
love it.
It's like the evolution, right? Like you're looking at the Kaizen principle, like how do I get better? And I love that because a CEO that has that vision, not just for the care,
Yes,
but also the development, there's always going to be that, hey, we can be better. It's a matter of
yeah,
everybody pulling together and pulling those things. And I love that you are in the sports side because like how you're measuring success, how you use scoreboards, how you use KPIs. I mean, there's always a measurement element to sports. That's why we
yeah,
use analogies,
yeah.
and I love to use cycle because, geez, I did duathlons and triathlons this summer, and I thought that the easiest part was going to be the cycling, but I would say that was what burned my legs out the most.
Yeah. No doubt, it's a tough sport, and gives you the grits and the resilience that one needs as a leader. And but it's certainly it's a long game. It teaches you about and reminds you about it's a long game. With every day thinking about a winning mindset. How can you be better? How can you do better? How can you give better? Um, that then just builds to hopefully the best.
Oh, big time. And I forget which book it was that they talked about it, but I think it might have been Atomic Habit, but
Yep.
they talked about having the coaching piece. They had the British cycling team come in and they said
Yes.
it wasn't that one strategy. It was he even had something as simple as they had a surgeon come in and show the cycling team how to wash their hands so they wouldn't get sick during the year. Like,
There you go.
you
It was
know,
all
ha-
about, and I think Dave, what they call that, right, which was from Team Sky back in the day, was marginal gains, right?
yeah.
So what are those little things you can do, the little minutia that you can tweak, right, to ultimately add up to large gains and a competitive differentiator. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, the CEO of a massively growing company, Marcel, how do you measure success right now?
Listen, obviously there's all the traditional metrics, bottom line, revenue growth, profit, margins, but really right now, focused on client feedback, positive word of mouth, and getting that just hearing that we're doing exceptional work. That's what I'm focused in on. We need to deliver and always deliver against our message, which is better home care. That's what I'm really focused on. That's what ultimately I say, you know what, if we don't need to put out an ad and we're getting word of mouth referrals and people are calling us and coming to us organically, then we're doing something right. So keep on delivering care and stepping up and being known for the care that we provide.
That's incredible. So, one last question that I would have is you're in a position right now where you've got a growing organization. What's like maybe one piece of advice that you would give like people starting out in entrepreneurship or people into a new leadership role that would really help them transition into the growth strategy for the year?
Yeah, so I was handed a book a little while ago from it's actually written by the founder of Waze, Yuri Levine, and the title of the book is "Focus on the Problem, Not the Solution." So, my advice to your audience, to any entrepreneur that's out there, is really focus in on the problem, really hone in on the problem and think of a better solution, right? But don't think about the solution, the what you're providing. always come back to the problem and make that your focus. If you do that and you do that in a space there where you know you can create net new value, right? Where you can perhaps disrupt an industry, right? Or disrupt a business model, then you're headed down the right path. But again, focus in on the problem, not the solution.
Amazing. Al, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. Oh, oh, sorry.
Sorry,
I'll just do
I think
it.
we could do it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Marcel, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. Tons of gold nuggets throughout the whole process, and really like inspired about where Good Comfort Home Care is going to go and how it's going to grow. And again, go back to the brand and the messaging. Absolutely stunning, incredible. So thank you again. If anybody wants to check out Marcel, he's the CEO for Good Comfort Home Care, based out of Ontario. Absolute incredible entrepreneur and CEO. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Dave, for having me. And this has been a wonderful time spent. Thank you so much.